cooler also comes with hardware and hoses. I don't know if we're going to be using it's all falling out. Where's the hole?
Giggity.
Here we go. So our Project IS-F is my wife's daily driver. It's a really great, dependable performance car, but it's getting to be where it's over 10 years old. And like a lot of old cars, we just had a really big failure of the cooling system. The radiator has plastic tanks that are crimped onto an aluminum core, and they have an O-ring in between the core and the tank, and the O-ring failed. So it's spewing coolant all over the place. So I was looking at different radiators. Hardly anybody makes a performance radiator for the car. The OEM radiator is really expensive. But Koyo actually does have a performance radiator that's a drop-in for the IS-F. This is a pretty cool radiator. It's one-piece aluminum, so no O-rings or plastic end tanks to fail. It's TIG welded, really strong, isn't going to leak. It's a really thick radiator, so it's a triple core. The stock radiator is only a 2-core, so this probably has about 30 or 40% more cooling capacity than stock, which you can never have too little cooling, especially in California where it's hot. The IS-F has not had a cooling problem because Toyotas are typically almost overcooled from the factory. But if you have an IS-F with forced induction, or you do a lot of track days with it, it's always good to have a performance alternative. Now, when you look at it, you can see that the radiator is designed to be a total factory replacement drop-in. So it has all the fittings to drop straight into the Toyota core support. It also has all the fittings so you can mount the OEM fans and shrouds. Goes right in. And the hose bungs and breathers and everything are exactly the same as stock. So it's a little thicker, but fits perfect. That's always a plus. Like I was talking about, you can see the TIG welded all aluminum construction, so this is not going to fail. Overall, it's a great replacement. I do have one beef with Koyo though. Being a performance radiator, it does not have provisions for an automatic transmission cooler. Now, IS-Fs only come with their kind of automatic manual transmission. There's no manual transmission option. So if you choose to run one of these Koyo radiators, you have to figure out what you're going to do about the transmission cooler. And considering the market for the car, I mean, it's like a performance luxury sedan, and there's no manual transmission option. I think Koyo could have figured something out, and maybe came out with a transmission cooler kit that comes with the radiator, or figured out like a way to integrate the transmission cooler into the radiator. Other than that, this is a great part. So we're going to put it in this car, but first we're going to look to see what we're going to do about transmission cooling. So we're talking about the Koyo radiator not having any provisions for a factory type transmission cooler. Well, it's not like you can delete the cooler because it still is pretty important. So we had to come up with some kind of solution to cool the tranny. What we did is we got a B&M transmission cooler. The B&M transmission cooler is a pretty good unit. Probably a lot of you, if you're old like me, remember those old Hayden transmission coolers that you used to run on your car back in the day if you had a high stall torque converter. Now, that was just a bunch of tubes with some fins brazed on, and it was actually kind of a piece of crap. Well, the B&M cooler is not like that. It's actually a really nice tube and fin heat exchanger. You can see all the rows of tubes, and these are actually pretty strong. They can take rock hits. The whole cooler is strong, durable, could take a lot of pressure. way better than those old school transmission coolers. There's also turbulators in the fins to help the fluid stay turbulent inside the cooler, so you get a better exchange of heat too. So this little B&M cooler is more efficient than those big old Haydens. It'll also block less of the radiator because you can get away with a smaller cooler. The cooler also comes with hoses and hardware to help make installation easy. I'm not sure what of this we're going to use. Won't know until we get into it. So anytime you do work on your cooling system, it's a really good idea to change the coolant at the same time. Now we're going to be using Redline Supercool coolant in our car. The Redline Supercool has their water wetter additive pre-blended in, so you don't have to add it. Now probably a lot of you have heard of water wetter, and if you race, there's a good chance that you use it with the water in your race car's radiator because it's a surfactant. Really helps the cooling. Now, Redline claims that this drops the temperature 20 degrees over regular coolant under hard use. Now, if you go to MotoIQ.com, we did an article a couple of weeks ago where we actually tested this, and we found that Redline's claims are true. This stuff really works. It's a long life coolant. It'll protect your cooling system in your engine for years. And it comes pre-blended, so you don't have to mess around with getting the ratio of coolant to water right. So we didn't do any track testing on the radiator or anything yet, but normal driving around, it runs much cooler. It really beats the stock leaky radiator. The transmission cooler did not affect the shift quality even when cold. It happens with some late model cars with the oil temp. Everything was fine. So we didn't do any track testing, but for hard regular driving, seems to work great. So if you like our content, be sure to subscribe to our channel, be sure to comment, and follow us on social media.